Okay, so this might be a hot take. I think there should be a subcategory for the quote Disney adults. I wouldn't say I'm all crazy for everything Disney, but when it comes to Disney Channel, I'm a Disney Channel adult. Do I own the Shake It Up Live to Dance Deluxe Target Edition album? Absolutely. Maybe I do need therapy. Hello everyone in this YouTube world. Today, I'm gonna let you in on another idea I have in my head. I asked myself, what would a Wizards of Waverly Place reboot look like? And then my mind went down a rabbit hole. So the main premise of this idea is that there's this teenager that moves from the mortal world into the wizard world for reasons that his family must let him uncover. However, we're going to revisit different mythical creatures from the original series and the same sort of comical presence that was there. I will argue that in order for a Wizards of Waverly Place revival to work, we're going to have to include the original cast. I imagine this idea as a limited series on Disney+, but I also see 3/4 of the show taking place in the said wizard world that was featured periodically throughout the original series. But I also want to bring back some of the older sets in the mortal world. I imagine the substation would be a main hangout place slash a nice portal in between the wizard world and into the mortal world as we've seen before. This also lets the opportunity of characters from both the wizard world and the mortal world to collide. Another location I want to bring back is WhizTech. This is essentially the wizarding school that Alex, Justin, and Max Russo went to periodically throughout the original series, and I think the concept of making the wizard school one of the main sets gives the opportunity of not only introducing new characters, but reintroducing characters that we've already met before. There was such a charm to the original series that I really want to emulate in this new idea. A brief side note, there's a podcast called Wizards of Waverly Pod where David DeLuise and Jennifer Stone, who play Jerry Russo and Harper Finkel respectively from the original show, they're providing commentary for each episode from every season of the show. If you're a Disney Channel adult like I am, you should definitely listen to this podcast. I'd really love to explore the idea of the main character trying to discover this wizard world. Now let's go into the breakdown of how I would imagine the pilot episode would go for this limited series. We are introduced to the main character and his best friend coming over to his house, but this is me yet again inserting my own personal experience. I think it would be funny if they were theater kids talking about auditioning for the school musical. I imagine the first episode taking place kind of near the end of summer vacation and the start of the school year. While the main character and his best friend are walking down the hallway of this apartment building, I imagine there being this really cool wonky transition panning from the hallway into the living room where we are reintroduced to Harper, who tells the main character's dad that he has to tell his son what's about to happen. And I see them having this back and forth conversation, and I really want it to sound like Harper's going to announce that she's pregnant, but that's not it whatsoever. I see the main character and his friend walking into the living room and saying hi, where Harper signals to his dad that he has something to say. I imagine there's this moment where the dad tells the friend to go home, but then the friend kind of trying to put two and two together and exclaiming that Harper is pregnant. This leaves the main character in shock, and the friend says something along the lines of, well, looks like the three of you have something to talk about, but also reassures that she wants to hear everything that's about to go down later on. And then the best friend leaves. Then we're cutting back to the main character, who is just totally in shock at this point. Then the dad tells the main character to go sit down on the couch. The dad tries to cut him off to tell him about what's really happening, but the dad is struggling to have words coming out of his mouth, and you can just see Harper's face just anticipating this moment. I see Harper yelling, "We're moving!" I really want the main character to blow off the fact that they're moving and just kind of mention all the things that he doesn't like about the apartment, like there's cracks in the ceilings of his room. He legit thinks that they're just going to be moving to another part of New York City, to which the dad assures him that they will be actually moving away way. I see the main character looking at his dad sort of in confusion, like, where are we exactly moving to? I really want there to be this flip transition, and then we are reintroduced to Jerry Russo himself, and I really want Jerry to tell the main character that they are going to start having magic lessons in order to prepare him to move into the wizard world while being in the lair from the original series. Cut to the theme song. Now we're talking about the theme song. Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas should be the songwriters behind the new theme song. The reason why I say that is because according to the Wizards of Waverly pod, the song Bad Guy by Billie Eilish actually samples some of the instrumentals from the theme song of Wizards of Waverly Place. If you listen to the song, I can't sing for the life of me, but there's this beat that goes. If you have listened to Bad Guy, you know what I'm talking about. And I see both Selena Gomez and Billie Eilish singing a revamped Everything Is Not What It Seems. Side note, I tried double checking what the theme song title actually is, but on Spotify, I got two different options. Did I just unpack a Mandela effect? Let me know in the comments down below. I see the intro paying homage to the original intro from Wizards of Waverly Place. I see the main character walking into the front doors of the substation, and he has interactions with the other main characters. I see a track from the front doors of the substation, and I see it's going all the way through the sub shop where we eventually will end it in the wizard's lair. I would like to see the theme song end at the door into the wizard world. I want to see the main character close it and then there be the title reveal. I think I'm gonna call this idea Wizard's World. And then we're gonna cut back to the wizard lair where Jerry is telling the main character about getting prepared for the move into the wizard's world. I see Jerry asking him what spell he would like to learn, and then I see the main character making some sort of joke about how he wants to learn how to teleport. That way he could just leave the wizard's lair. I see the dad being in the same room, and then I see the dad explaining a little bit of his backstory. I see the main character saying something along the lines of like, being a wizard is your own thing. You won the wizard competition and now you're marrying, and that's when he'll signal towards Harper and she's somehow connected to all of this. I would love to explore that at some point in the show, but that will come into play a lot later. I see Teresa Russo, who was the mom in the original series, coming in during this interaction where it's the dad, Harper, Jerry, just all kind of conversing in the wizard's lair, and I kind of see her being this comic relief of mentioning that there's this crazy customer in the sub shop who is just being an absolute Karen. But I see her saying something like that Max is taking care of it. And I want to mention how Jerry gave up his powers in order to be with Teresa, but there's a little bit of lore that I want to add on to that. I want Teresa to mention how Justin has implemented where wizards can have a serious relationship with one mortal, and we will play on this concept later on in this idea, so stick with me. And then I see them explaining what happens when the love interest doesn't work out. Well, their memory is magically altered and they return to their normal life. That kind of explains why Harper logistically can be involved with all the wizard stuff, because she is with the main character's dad, but the main character has no idea how she's connected to the Russo family and how there's all this wizardry and magic. He's kind of getting hit in the face with all of this. He knew about how his dad was a family wizard, but the main character just doesn't want anything to do with it. He just wants to live this normal life. Now you're probably wondering how this main character gets his magic powers. I think it would be funny if Jerry hands the main character just a random stick. Then I see there being this gag where Jerry mentions a parody of Build-A-Bear, but with wands. That will be apparently something that the main character does on his first day at the WhizTech orientation. Moving on, I think it would be funny if we cut to this blank room, which essentially is the new house for the main character. I see this really cool scene where Jerry shows the main character how to create this home into something that they can grow into. I also see there being this other moment where the main character is packing up his room at the apartment as his friend walks into the room. I really want there to be this really sweet friendship between them. I see there being this moment where the friend just kind of explains that that it doesn't feel right to audition for this year's school musical without the main character with them supporting them. And I see the main character explaining to the friend that she has worked all summer on her audition, which she replies that the main character also was working hard on his audition. However, the main character assures his friend that he's going to be there opening night, cheering his friend on. I also want there to be a moment where they sort of explain how the main character will be visiting his friends in the mortal world. I see the cover up of him moving to the wizard world being the fact that they're moving to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yet again, me inserting my own life into this idea. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, and then the main character hears his dad yelling out his name from downstairs. I see there being this giant surprise going away party for the main character that the dad throws thanks to the help of the Russos. As the series goes along, I really want to see the formation of an even bigger family. But back to the idea of this pilot, I see the main character being at the table at the substation where this party is happening, and all of his friends are there just telling him that this is a way of him to get a fresh start. Also, I think at this point I should also mention, I see the main character identifying as gay. So this moment with the main character and a lot of his friends is really somber, but you sort of feel the excitement for him. I then want there to be a scene switch where we see the main character going to WhizTech for the first time. I see there being this really sweet moment with Harper where she tells the main character how family will always be around the corner no matter what. And I still see there being a lot of confusion from the main character about why he's actually there. But he mentions how he's excited to have this fresh start. I think it'd be funny if his dad actually got really emotional before he walked into WhizTech. So kind of a somber yet comical moment before the main character arrives at one of the main settings of the show. And I want there to be a moment kind of reminiscent of the pilot episode of Victorious where the main character walks through the front door and he trips and falls, spilling his coffee all over the floor. But I see it being a moment where another wizard trips him, which will become another significant character in the series. I see the main character getting up and saying under his breath how he just wanted to blend into this wizard school and not stick out like a sore thumb. And yes, the headmaster is Justin Russo. And then I see the main character kind of being confused by the fact that the headmaster revealed that his name being Justin Russo. I see Justin having this grand speech where it's obvious that the guy who tripped the main character was being praised for all the training that he had done with Justin over the summer. I also would like to note more lore that I want to add of how magical creatures can now attend WhizTech like normal wizards. I also think during Justin's speech that it should be mentioned that this is the first year that mythical creatures and wizards will be going to the same school together. And I see interesting plot points being able to play on that. Then I think it would be funny because the first thing in orientation for the main character will be going to that Build-A-Bear wand shop that's at WhizTech. I also want there to be a moment where there's commentary on the fact that the main character will have to pay for different elements of his wand in order for him to study his courses, kind of playing on the fact that college textbooks are expensive. How I want to play it is the more you learn spells, the more magic and the more powerful you will end up being. I want there to be another moment where the main character gets picked on by the same guy who initially tripped him whenever he walked into WhizTech. This frustrates the main character, to which he then snaps his wand in half and walks out of the room. I think it'd be really interesting to play on a moment where the main character finally snaps. He's over the bullying, but his outburst did lead him needing to talk to the headmaster. I see this moment where they're in Justin's office and Justin kind of gaslights the main character by saying, oh, it's harmless competition. And then I see him continuing to defend that statement by saying that he will need competition in order for him to become a great wizard, where then he goes on a ramble about all the adventures him and the other Russo siblings went on whenever they were learning magic. And I just imagine the main character being there just kind of out of it and just not really focused on it, just really staring off into space. I see Justin telling the main character to go see the guidance counselor because it's obvious that he's just not paying attention to anything that Justin is saying. And I see the main character walking out of Justin's office as he runs into the bully. However, I think there should be an interesting character moment where the bully shows some remorse, but before he could get words out of his mouth, I want the main character to have this really powerful monologue where he just goes on about how he's dealt with bullies like him before. To which I see the bully replying something along the lines of, "Oh, I guess you got me all figured out." And then I see the main character then storming off to the guidance counselor. And then whenever he gets there, he starts telling the guidance counselor how he just wants to get the session over with so he can go talk to his friends back home. And then I see this like chair turnaround like moment. It is revealed that Alex Russo is the guidance counselor. And I see there being this funny moment where Alex tells the main character that she doesn't have the time either, but she's getting a paycheck for this. And then I see there being a callback to the fact that there's a bunch of Russos in this show. And then I also want the main character to call back to the line that Harper said before he walked into WhizTech about how family will always be around the corner. I really want that to be a very prominent line in this pilot episode. And I see at that point the main character opening up to Alex, saying how he doesn't want to feel different. And I really want Alex to say that no one is normal. And I want her to start giving some advice. I want there to be this really awesome moment where Alex tells him that the more he embraces his true self, the closer the people who genuinely love and support him will be to him. And then I want there to be this comical moment where she asks him what she could do in order for him to get out of her office because she is exhausted. And he tells her that he just wanted to see his friends, but he's not allowed to leave the school premises during this orientation. However, Alex literally just waves her wand, gets out of there. And then I see the main character getting flashed back into his old school in the mortal world at the moment that his best friend is auditioning for the school play. This is where I want to continue reestablishing this really strong friendship between these two characters. And then I see her telling him that she's nervous about doing it and how it still just doesn't feel right without him being there. And then I see the main character assuring her that she would regret it if she doesn't do it. And then the screen cuts to black. We go back to the main character's old room in the mortal world, but it's now empty. And he formally says goodbye to all of his friends. It's this big emotional moment, but all of his friends are excited for him. They are really looking forward to what he has in store for him now that he has a new beginning. And I see that once all the friends leave the room and the main character is there by himself, I see Harper and Alex just flashing right in, and I see there being this really sweet moment where they flash back to their house in the wizard world. And then I really want this scene to show the main character's dad, Harper, Jerry, Teresa, Max, Alex, Justin can also be there. I want there to be this really great moment of just this growing family that we're starting to see, and they're just helping him build his room up because they are there to support him. However, I do want the first episode to end on a cliffhanger. I see Harper taking the main character's dad to the side and ask him if he's actually going to tell his son why he's in the wizard world. And then I see the dad responding, saying something along the lines of, "I think it would be too hard for him to grasp all at once." And then the episode ends. I know it's kind of a crackpot idea, but I think it would be pretty good. I think the cheesiness and the heart of the original series, I really wanted to bring that into this new idea, as well as building on the lore from the original series. And I can see the entire first season focusing on a whole school year. And the finale I have in my mind, if I were to ever write it, is so crazy. There's a lot of seeds that I planted in this pilot that I have in my head a rabbit hole that they could all go down in episodes that I really think would be really interesting to explore. And I will say there is a plot that I want to reuse from season 4 of Wizards of Waverly Place, there's an episode where Mason is dating a ghost, but Alex is low-key but high-key jealous, so she helps Mason's ghost date find her long-lost love, and they end up recounseling so Alex and Mason can get back together. I kind of want to play on the same beats of that plot, but make it last over several episodes, and it will be a big cultivating moment that will sort of alter the direction of the series, because I imagine there being this whole love story with the main character and a ghost. There's kind of complications with that because the main character does fall in love with the ghost. However, he's also helping him figure out where his love is at. And another plot I had stemmed from the actual original showrunner's remarks on the Wizards of Waverly pod, where he talks about what he saw for a revival series. I think it would be interesting to see a beginner Wizards class at some point in this limited series, but with the kids of Alex and Mason, as well as the kids of Justin and Juliet. If you want to listen to more of my ideas on this revival series, or if you have your own ideas about what you see in a Wizards revival, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you follow me on social media so you don't miss out on any of my content. I will see you in another video.